Welcome to the Jaybe Show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here today on this Sunday afternoon. Just to let you guys know, the Jaybe Show is every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also find me on Thursdays for the Savvy and Jaybe Show. And you can find me on my channel on Jaybe Font Channel. It's also linked in the description down below. You can find me there on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So good to see all of you here joining me. If you guys have not, please also make sure to give a like to this video. This also pushes us out into the algorithm. This is to make sure that we can reach more people and talk about these important subjects, and so that more people are well informed, and we can also try to encourage and inspire too. So thank you very much for that. If you have not already, you guys can join our mailing list at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com. This gives you email notifications whenever we go live or upload clips. So you guys have that there. So thank you so very much. And if you guys would like to email us with any questions, inquiries, or any stories that you find interesting, you guys can email us at revolutionaryblackout@outlook.com. This is the best way to reach us there. So thank you so very much. Now, let's get to the comments in the chat just to say hello to everybody that's in the chat saying what's up, how you doing. All right, let's get in here. We got a few people already coming in. Newbie of Death Review-ish. Is that spoons? I mean, I got my spoon. I got my spoon and my tea. So, I mean, we got some stuff we got to talk about. So, good to see you. All right, we have RBN member, my brother from another mother, Chocolate Thunder himself, Nick, is in the chat saying JB is too powerful. Nah, bro, you too powerful. Look, you the Jedi, not me. I'm just a Padawan. Janice Anderson says hi. All good to see you, Janice. All right, Nick is the Jedi Master. He's a Jedi Master. All right, we have Terry Connolly saying, greetings, JB and fam. Good to see you, Terry Connolly. Nice to have you in here, Terry Connolly. I like to say Terry Connolly. All right, all one same says, make it a great day, everyone. Absolutely, make it a great day, not just for yourself, but for others around you. Great message, all one same. Appreciate that. Bobby Ishak says, love. Thank you so very much, Bobby. Nice to have you in here as well. Volvo to love says, hey. Camp Cat says, love me some JB. Aww. Look, you know what? I'm gonna be on my best behavior because Nick is watching, and I don't want him coming to me in the meeting and be like, JB, this is a family show. So good to see you as well. Hop coming in saying, weird. RBN has 45.2 thousand subs this morning. Now 45.1. Somehow I just doubt people were jumping into YouTube on a Sunday morning just to unsub. I don't know. These things happen. There's an ebb and flow. And like right when you're like getting close to getting to like a milestone, like let's say for instance, right now, when on my channel to get to 2,000 subs was grueling. It was like slow. It's like once you get close, then it starts to slow down. It's almost like YouTube is being very, very finicky about your subs. Now I'm on the precipice of hitting, I got about 900 subs to go, but around 850 or so to get to 5,000. And now it's like at a crawl. And then it's the same thing like when, it's like once you start, I was talking to Savvy about this. I was like, once you get to that precipice, right before you get to 10,000, it's like a crawl. Right before you get to like 25,000, it's a crawl. 50,000 is a crawl. It's like every time it's just like stagnant. But that's the name of the game, and and of course, some major changes happened in the last couple of months. So you're gonna have some people that are not used to that change. You have some people who may have intense parasocial relationships that to them it's like any type of change is just like no. We want to keep things the same, and some people just may not like it, and it is what it is. So, but yeah, that's the name of the game here in the YouTube. We have Wari coming in saying, "Hey everybody, good to see you." On the Rumble side, Black Man Walking says, "Hey Jaybe, how's things? This tea I made is so good." That's one thing. Okay, first, hang on. Secondly, how's things? I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm making some dinner tonight. I saw this recipe. It sounds so good. It's like it calls for um boneless, skinless chicken breast. But I'm like, I ain't doing that boneless, skinless chicken breast. We're doing boneless, skinless chicken thighs, okay? And it calls for broccoli and spinach, and then it's just a sauteed recipe, but it just looks so good. The only problem though is like I wish I either had some brown rice or some quinoa to go with it. I know it sounds rich when I say it, but it's actually not very expensive, especially the brown rice. You just buy a pack of brown rice, which is really cheap. But yeah, you know, I should make a call to get the brown rice. Anywho, so yeah, that's what's going to be for dinner tonight. I cannot wait to get to it. It's going to be good. Cassie coming in saying, "JB, Cassie, good to see you." Rondo coming in saying, "Peace, peace, peace, fam." Yes, 3 times for emphasis. All right, nice to have you in the chat. All right. So, what are we getting into today? Well, there's a couple of things. It's going to be a very Black episode. I mean, we focus on a lot of Black issues here on RBN nonetheless, but I want to focus on this. So we're going to be talking about 2 subjects. A Black barber, was he bamboozled by Trump? Really? Let's get into that in a little bit. And then we're going to talk. Actually, I'm going to talk about that first. The later show we're going to talk about is how Black farmers, won recently against the USDA. So we're going to be talking about that as well. We're going to get a little bit deep into the details about that. So yes, I think this is going to be a really good episode to talk about. So Donald Trump. There's a lot of people speaking out about what is going on regarding the performances at the latest debate on CNN. Of course, Biden's dumpster fire of a performance. And let's be honest, Trump's performance also was piss poor, because the Donald Trump of 2016 would have demolished the Donald Trump of 2024. Let's just be real. So that in itself is, a lot of people have eyes on Trump. A lot of people have eyes on Biden right now. And so I think it's important to, focus on why people are looking at them with such disdain now. Like, of course, people had looked at them with disdain before in the past, but now it's even more. But there's eyes on Donald Trump now because of some people looking at him and saying, well, he manipulated this particular barber. So I'm going to be going to this quick story about this Black barber that basically said, well, Donald Trump tricked me. And my question is, was it trickery or was it his own damn fault? So I'm gonna, due to the sake of the way some local news stations claim copyright, I'm gonna go into this instead. But I think it's important that we look at this. So we're going to be getting into the details about it too. So it says Black barber plays himself after supporting Trump, instantly regret it. So please forgive me if I laugh a couple times. Let's go.
For Hype Plus News, I'm John Alva. The owner of Rocky's Barbershop, Rocky Jones, is being called a sellout for renting out his business for an event supporting Donald Trump. Now, in response, Jones is already saying that he was misled when it came to hosting a campaign event for former President Trump. He said he was told it was an event for Black-owned businesses that would take place at his barbershop. Now, during an interview with 11 Alive News, Jones claimed he was told that his shop would be the venue for a roundtable discussion aimed for Black business owners. Jones would also go on to explain he was contacted via text message and later on phone when he agreed to host what he thought would be a small private gathering. Well, after hearing Jones' side of the story, campaign organizers for Donald Trump would post the original contract on Twitter where Jones' signature can be seen.
Now, hang on. Let me ask you just one question. If the Trump campaign asks you to have an event at your business and says it's for Black businesses, and you don't think it's a campaign event, bruh, are you? I'm gonna need you to be so effing for real right now, bro. If a campaign calls you for an event at your business, you don't think it's not going to be a campaign event? Hang on. Before we get back to this, I want to share with you guys the literal contract, because he says he was duped, bamboozled, run amok, led astray, right? But was he? Or was it just buyer's remorse? All right, so this is from the Trump War Room. They actually shared this. Here is the contract. Let's read a couple pieces, shall we? Because this is what he said. Venue use agreement. This venue use agreement is made by between Rocky's Barbershop owner and Donald J. Trump for President 2024 and executed as of the date signed by both parties. Whereas the owner is willing to rent Donald J. Trump for President 2024 and Donald J. Trump for President 2024 desires to rent from owner the owner's facilities and grounds as approved by owner located at, and there's the address, premises for the purpose of Donald Trump for 2024 holding a political event on the terms and conditions set forth herein. The agreement is made subject to the following terms and conditions. Hold up. Wait a minute. It literally says political event. Look, I'm going to put it up there for y'all. It literally says political event. What? Let me ask you something. Did he read the contract? And if a political campaign asks you to use your venue, your business at an event, you don't think it's not going to be a political event? Like, hold up. Even without reading the contract, I know, wait, that's a political event. Let me ask you guys in the chat. If let's say it could be Joe Biden, it could be Donald Trump, it could be RFK Jr., it could be Dr. Jill Stein, it could be Dr. Cornel West, it could be Dr. Shiva, it could be Jasmine Sherman. It doesn't matter. If somebody who's running a political campaign asks to come to your business for an event, are you going to regard it as a political event? Come on, let me know in the chat, because it's like, and you're saying that you didn't know it was a political event. Do you take us for fools? Bobby says, read the contract and study it. Amen. Yeah. Right? Rondo says, did he read the contract? We all know he didn't read the contract. Why? Why not? Like, my God, are you kidding me right now? G Mead says it could be Joe Biden and he forgot who he was. John H., contracts are hard. Not this one. Cassie says campaigns don't have events that aren't campaign events. Exactly. Anthony says, duh. Exactly. Like, what the hell? All right, let's get back into this, because this really, like, hold up. Okay, so rental, it says owners shall make premises available to Donald Trump for president from 12 p.m. on June 26, 2024 to 2:30 p.m. on June 26, 2024. So that's 2.5 hours on June 26. Donald Trump for president shall have access to use of the premises during the rental period. During rental period, premises shall be used for setup and build out, press load in, security sweep, guest doors open time, event and breakdown. Owners recognizes the event will be held on June 26th, during which press and invitees and other members of the public will attend the event and premises. Donald Trump 2024 production team is responsible for setting up non-pre-existing staging, lighting, seating, tables, etc., as needed for event at Donald Trump 2024's expense. Right? Here goes the rent. Here it is. Says, hang on. Let me make sure. I'm going to make this nice and big so that everybody can see. Donald Trump for president 2024 agrees to pay the owner the sum of $4,800 to rent premises for the rental period. Owner represents that such sum constitutes fair market value for the use of space and shall include access to the basic utilities of the premises, costs associated with moving incidentals within the premises to prepare areas for the event, and all costs associated with operating the premises during rental period. Let me ask y'all one question, because the cameras will be there, the news media will be there, and all that. Do you think that really it gave him free advertising? Oh yeah, Donald Trump's for president, his people are going to be there. And guess what? It's going to be free advertising for my barbershop. Baby, let me tell you something. Not all publicity is good publicity. And now he's like, oh crap, people are lashing out at me. My thing is, ultimately, let me continue. Let me continue in this because hang on. Before I continue, I want to share with you guys this as well because you guys need to see this. Here is sign. There he goes. Authorized representatives of the party have caused this agreement to be executed by signing below. And there he is, the owner, and then the treasurer for Donald J. Trump for President 2024, Incorporated. So let's get back to the video real quick. Because he's claiming buyer's remorse. I claim BS. All right, let's go back just a couple seconds. Let's
check on Twitter where Jones' signature can be seen. The document was signed just before the 2024 presidential debate. The contract posted online came from the account Trump War Room. The business owner signed an agreement with the Trump campaign and received for the time spent in his location for this event. The contract revealed that the Trump campaign agreed to pay the owner, Jones, $4,800 in order to rent the shop for a couple of hours before the presidential debate. From the contract, the agreement was signed on the same day as the debate. When Jones was originally interviewed for 11 Alive News, he stated,
started with a text, then it went to a call because I was actually out the country, and just me agreeing to do a black.
Hang on. Hold up. Let me see something. Let me show you something. Because, hold up. What the hell? What in the hell? Who in their right mind, who of you know that puts up a sign that says no profanity in the barbershop? Hey, wait. I have never seen a sign in a barbershop, in a black barbershop, that said, oh, no profanity. Pardon my French, but what the fuck? Are you kidding me right now? All right. Okay. Let's continue.
Then it went to a call because I was actually out the country, and just me agreeing to do a black small business, roundtable. I thought it was like something real private, thinking about black business in Atlanta, small black businesses in Atlanta. And I'm like, okay, so when are we going to start talking about this?
It wasn't until Jones received a call from Trump himself where Jones was put on alert. I'm like, why is the ex-president calling somebody in my barbershop? This has nothing to do with small black businesses.
Hold up. Wait. You signed the contract, bruh. You signed it. It said Donald J. Trump for president 2024. That means you pick up your spectacles and you read the contract, but you didn't. Or did you? And now you're like, I don't like, me no likey how people are mean to me now. Dude, you did it. And you probably, and that check already cleared probably. Oh my goodness. Ain't this some shit?
After the event, Jones says he's seen a decline in clients as well as backlash from several individuals. We had some calls Thursday. We definitely got some calls, some backlash, some angry people that don't know me, and I have to deal with that. I have no involvement in politics. We don't even talk politics in this barbershop. It's all sports, the World Cup, soccer, baseball, basketball. Politics is not what I do. I commend everybody to vote, but that's your business, I don't tell you what to do.
Hang on. Then why did you have a political event at your barbershop? And if the representatives for Donald Trump's campaign called you to hold an event at your barbershop, that didn't register in your brain, in your cerebellum, that, oh, this is going to be a political event. My brother in Thor, my brother in Vishnu, did this not register to you? What the heck? Somebody please call 911.
I'm not a political guy, but after this experience, I know that this next election is crucial. Please vote, stay aware, get the facts. Sometimes it be on people.
Look, I'm not political, but I'm going to get political. Jeez Louise, man. Let's continue.
Full ownership for not reading the contract before I signed.
Hopefully, oh, wait. Let's beat back up the truck a little bit. Hang on.
Be on people. I take full ownership for not reading the contract before I signed. Hopefully, by sharing my truth, I can make sure the other Black business owners don't get bamboozled or fall into a political trap.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. Technically, you can say I personally, because I have my own channel, I am a business owner, right? I work for myself and I own the means of my own production, what have you, right? What business owner do you know that does not read the contract? Oh, wait. You mean to tell me that you're a business owner and you've been in this business for almost damn near 20 years and you do not have the wherewithal to read a contract, especially when a political organization is calling you for an event? And then you say, I'm not political? Do we look like Boo Boo the Fool to you? Bruh. This story makes me itch because it's just filled with it's like, come on, bro. Nah. No, you making me itch with this one. Something don't pass the smell test for me. And it's pretty obvious that you're the one who's thinking, bro.
Now, ever since Trump's team released the contract showcasing the barbershop owner's signature, social media would call out Jones for being caught in a lie. There were even some users who thought Jones was fabricating the story, even before the contract was released. One user on social media would write, so the barber in Atlanta was lying. He knew it was an event for $45 and was only paid $4,800 for it, signed a contract and all of that. I need your souls to be worth a little more, folks. Another ex-user would share the Atlanta barber was not tricked by the Trump campaign. He knew exactly what he was doing. He just didn't expect the backlash to his business from the very community that he coordinated with Trump's people to try to hoodwink. I hope he got paid up front for selling his soul. One more social media user would share their thoughts by writing, $4,800 to tap dance for Trump and risk your Black barbershop business in Atlanta, a city with 5 million Black barbershops. And the Supreme Court just made homelessness illegal. Another user on social media would acknowledge the strategic moves the Trump campaign has made. What this shows me overall is how Black men are being manipulated to be used as props and pawns by Trump's campaign. The 180 church in Detroit and now this barbershop in Atlanta, Black people in Atlanta have been letting him have it ever since.
Hang on. Now, here's one thing I want to point out. Was the Trump campaign manipulating Black people in this instance? Yeah, of course. I agree with that. Here's my problem. If Biden had did a political event there, would y'all be saying the same thing? Here's what I need people to realize. I want you to listen to me very carefully. One, the Democratic Party manipulates Black people, and then that in that manipulation, we are basically a means to an end for the Democratic Party. And just like the Democratic Party manipulates Black people, the Republican Party manipulates poor white people as a mean and working class white people as a means to an end because they don't give a shit about you. And then they'll crisscross because the Democratic Party will also manipulate poor and working class whites. And then guess what? Who will manipulate working class Black people is the Republican Party too. And so I want people to realize that the duopoly, both Republican and Democratic parties, are out there to play you like a 808. They just pressing your buttons and seeing what makes a sound. And that's it. And so you're going to sit here and think, oh, well, it's just an event for Black businesses. No, it ain't. You know it wasn't. And you shouldn't have read. If you didn't read the contract, you're a fool. And if you did read the contract, then you're a liar. One of the two. You're either a fool or you're a liar or you're both. One of the two or three. Because are you going to sit here and tell me that you were manipulated by Trump, or you saw the manipulation, you allowed it to happen, and then now because you're in a town full of liberals, now you're like, oh man, I pissed off the liberals and now I gotta backtrack. My thing is, why'd you fall for the duopoly in the first place? Like, I get it. Like, let's say hypothetically, if a Libertarian Party candidate or the Green Party candidate wanted to come into your barbershop and talk about Black business. Okay, fine, right? Okay, cool. But you said you're not political, so you really shouldn't be having anybody political whatsoever at your barbershop to talk about Black businesses. Or if you're going to have it, then don't do it during an election year. But you got $4,800 for it. You got paid. But make no mistake, both parties manipulate Black people. And guess what? Hang on. Right now, you have an influx of especially Black men that are siding with the Trump campaign. You Black men that are deciding to vote for Trump, why are you siding with Orange Biden? Do you think that your lives is actually going to get that much better? You guys will point out the racism of Joe Biden, which absolutely. This is why you should never give any type of grace or room or credence to somebody like Joe Biden. But did y'all forget about the racism of Donald Trump? You guys need to walk away from both parties because neither one will serve you. And you guys can point to the stimulus all you want. But you know who got an even bigger stimulus? The parasite class with those Trump tax cuts. That's who got the stimulus. We got crumbs. They got the whole bank. And who continued those tax cuts largely? Joe Biden. So why are you falling for the okie doke once again? Hang on, before I finish this video, let me share with y'all something. I just shared this on Twitter not too long ago, right before I went live, actually. And I want you guys to see this because I make this example all the time. And I want people to really get why it is important to walk away from both parties. Now, I'm going to share with you guys something. We're going to talk about food for a second. You see this? What did I say? I said, I don't think the both parties, this person I quoted say, I don't think the both parties is the focus here. I said, that is a big part of the problem. Blue MAGA and red MAGA are just cheering for their team. Meanwhile, all of you are being played. It's like trying to choose between KFC and Pizza Hut, but they're both owned by Yum Brands. What good is it trying to choose between one of these two inside the same building when you still are being played by the owner? Who's the owner? Well, wouldn't it be the owner, the people who own the banks, especially the big banks, the billionaires? Wouldn't it be them? They're all owned by the same people. So it doesn't matter which way you go. It doesn't matter if you go with Biden. It doesn't matter if you go with Trump, because you could still end up with the same owners. It's not actually, the power is not in your hands. The power is in their hands. And they're forcing you to choose between either die by fire or die by drowning. Which one you want to do? It's up to you to go, I don't want to die at all. And that's the third option. But a lot of people don't want to go with the third option because they're so tricked into thinking, well, if I burn to death, that's going to hurt. But if I drown to death, I won't really feel it. This is why we talk about being post-duopoly. Because there's always a third option. Always, always, always. Do not allow your enemy to set the terms. That's the problem. You're allowing your enemy to set the terms. You set the terms, not them. Not the billionaires, not the parasites. You set the terms. That's the issue. And we keep going, well, if we don't vote for Donald Trump, if we don't vote for Joe Biden, we're going to get Donald Trump. If we don't vote for Donald Trump, we're going to get Joe Biden. Who cares which one you get? You're still fucked. You're still screwed. Either way you go. This is why you get out of Dodge and you go to the third option. What are some of the options for the third option? Okay. Here are 3 different things you can do that are third option that actually would move you away from either a dumpster fire or a dumpster fire that doesn't know where he's at. Okay? So 1, you vote third party. That's one option. Because either way, even if you vote third party, if enough people start voting third party, well, then you start to place, you can make it so that somebody who is outside of duopoly actually wins. But even still, even if the person who is third party doesn't win and one side of duopoly does win, at least you didn't vote for somebody that's actually doing something heinous like a genocide. Because you're going to get a genocide either way. You might as well vote your conscience, okay? Number 1. Number 2, if you do not want to vote for anybody in particular, there are still ballot initiatives that you can vote for to alleviate the issues that are plagued on us by working in regular people. Like, for instance, here in Florida, we actually have recreational marijuana on the ballot. Back in 2020, I think it was, we voted to give ourselves $15 an hour minimum wage here in Florida. We did that in Florida, yes. In 2018, we actually voted to give former people who were felons, we voted to give them the right to vote back. Now, of course, the Florida legislator, basically threw a monkey wrench in that, but that's a whole nother conversation. But that's what we did. So there's the second option of the third option. The third of the third option that you could do is, if you don't want to vote at all, okay, organize. And this is the one that you can either couple with number 2, number 3, or all. So the third part is the most essential part, is organizing. Now, this could be organizing your workplace in order to either form a union, or you can form a worker co-op. You can try to do that. I think that's even better. You can try to organize tenants unions so that you guys can actually exert more power, so that you guys aren't shafted by the parasite class. You can try to organize in order to do mutual aid, just like what we do in different chapters here in RBN. But there are answers. This is how you do not allow your enemy to set the terms. I just wanted to put that out there, because a lot of times people will talk about, well, all you guys talk about is what's horrible, what's bad, what's, all these horrible, depressing things. And it's like, yeah, these things are horrible and depressing, but there are answers in order to alleviate these problems. Anyway, so that's why I say, do not choose between Pizza Hut or KFC. Reject all of Yum brands. Reject the parasite class. Reject both parties. That's basically what it is. And it's very simple, but some people want to make it more complex than what it is. So let me go back and let's finish this up, because this guy just, I really do think that he played himself.
It looks like many people online are skeptical of Jones's explanation, as he most likely didn't expect to lose clientele over this decision. So what do you guys think of the Atlanta barbershop owner, Rocky Jones, and his story of being bamboozled by the Trump campaign? Do you believe him, and what lessons have we learned? Save the day for the latest news and comedy culture.
I mean, there's literally a Blacks for Trump sign that was put in there for the event, man. They literally put a Blacks for Trump sign in your event, man. What the hell? I would have canceled that contract before the event even started. I would have been like, nope. Y'all got to get out. If you're not political. You had Ben Carson show up. My guy, come on. The duopoly will do whatever it can to manipulate you, no matter who you are. But if you're Black and you own a business, you need to know that they are there because they see you as a means to an end. They do not intend on helping you, especially if you're a small Black-owned business. They do not care about you. And you need to wake up. And that's what it really means to be woke. Go ahead and like the video. Thank you so very much. We're going to go into the comments and the chat, and then we'll do a little bit of house cleaning before we get into our next segment. But thank you so very much. Let's get into, let me see. Are we good on the rock fin? We are good. All right, let's get into the rest of the chat just to talk about what you guys have been saying while I was rambling on. Okay. Let me see. Rondo says, when there's money involved, you need to read everything. Bingo. Look, in this system, especially in a system that incorporates exploitation, you cannot just get away with the handshake. That's not going to cut it. It is not the way it works. Remember in Emperor's New Groove when Pancha was duped by Kuzco and he said, we shook hands on it. That don't mean nothing in a system where you have a class of exploiters. You need to read the contract. My goodness. Traveler's Wolf said he forgot who he was. Right? Sweary Fair says Donald Trump used a black guy. Say it ain't so. Like water, like is water still wet? It's like, come on, bro. You actually expect me to believe that you put your trust in a racist? And by why saying that, I'm talking about both Biden and Trump. Come on now. Come on now. Y'all smart in this. Jayak says, rich dude lies for girders? What's girder? Oh, rich man lies for rent. Indy, hello. Indy left. Friend to RBN, good to see you. All right, nice to have you in here. If you guys have not, Indy Left also does great commentary. They have a network there. Go ahead and subscribe to them. They actually do great work over there. I think all of us from RBN have been on Indy Left channel to have discussions. I'm supposed to be going on soon. We have to figure out a time. I'm supposed to be going on with Colin and Reef again. But yeah, make sure to to subscribe to them and take a look at what they got on the docket. Let me see. Bobby says he can't complain then. For a businessman not to read the contract is unthinkable. You know? Sylvia Ross says, yeah, John, especially the fine print. But that's the thing. There was no fine print. I do not have a legal education. Not legal education. I do not have the education of a lawyer, right? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I read everything in layman's terms. And even I was able to understand that contract completely. I read the entire thing. And if I can understand it, he as a business owner should be able to understand that. It's weird, man. It's good to see you. Thank you very much for gifting a membership. Thank you so very much. Much appreciated. All right. Yep, Rondo says, so he got paid $5,000 for a 2-hour rental fee before the debate. People started tripping out, and now he's backpedaling. Oh, my goodness, man. Black Man Walking says, I've seen it here in Milwaukee, Jaybe, and many barbershops here. Are you talking about the no cursing? Really? Wow. Okay. All right. Look, I'll stand corrected on that one. Okay. Interesting. Rondo says they don't talk politics at the barbershop. Now that's weird, right? Oh my gosh. Oh, how can you not? Yeah, my non-existent watch. Ant Farm says, so desperate to trash Trump. Get a life, dude. No, I'm not desperate to trash Trump. Trump is trash. Trump is just like Biden. They're both trash. Why are you so in a hurry to praise trash? Why are you in a hurry, to praise somebody who's just like Joe Biden? I'm sorry, but being loyal to the duopoly really is it's folly. It's idiotic. It's ignorant. Like, what are you doing? Following the duopoly. Did you know that this channel is post-duopoly? Have you not watched me, Nick, Rome, or Sabby? Oh my God. Yeah, you need to watch this channel a little bit more. Anyway, yeah. Davina says, bro, you're right. Yep, it was a campaign thing. Yep. Leroy, it's two big parties and you ain't in it. Yep, basically. Sylvia says, I didn't know KFC and Pizza Hut were owned by the same company. Not surprised. It's called monopolization. You don't think they didn't monopolize our political system? That's the way capitalism works. It monopolizes some of the most important pieces of our society, our political system being one of them. Our political system is a monopoly. It's all one party. So when people start defending one side or the other, you look foolish, like this Ant Farm guy. You look foolish. You sound foolish because you're literally defending one side. It's like, that's like being in a plane that's crashing and you blame the pilot, but the co-pilot is also right there. And then you're like, well, let's switch pilots. But the plane's still crashing. Ay, ay, ay. Landry says, Nancy and Ron in the Rose Garden. Hard to find the video. Oh. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Let's go to this super chat. H. Lukila says, is the USA not in DEFCON level 4 of 5 on fascism? Let me show you something. All right. Because I shared this before. I'll share it again. This was written back in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s by George Jackson. It's called Blood in My Eye, right? George Jackson actually argued that the United States was already fascist, fully fascist, back then. We're talking about 50 years ago. And if George Jackson could see it that early back then guess what? We've been in fascism for a long ass time. And by the way, where did the fascists get a lot of their ideas from? Was it not through how the United States treated the indigenous and Black people in this country? That's how they got a lot of their ideas for torture and war crimes and extermination. So the fascists actually got their ideas from here, the source. So, you know what? DEFCON, there has to be a DEFCON that we don't even know about, probably DEFCON 6. Because guess what? We've been in fascism for a long ass time. Some people didn't realize it. I put it this way. Fascism It's like hot oil. You know, when you're about to fry some chicken or fry some fish and the oil's hot, but you can kind of tell if you're really keen-eyed, you start to see it smoking. But some people just aren't that keen, right? So this is why you need a thermometer to see whether your oil is a little bit too hot. If it's at 350, 375, 400 degrees, whatever. You need to know where your oil temperature is. But some people just do not have that temperature. They do not have that thermostat, right? And then what happens if you drop a little bit of water in that hot oil? Then you see the popping. So fascism is like very hot oil. You really don't know how hot it is until the water puts a drop into it, if you're not keen-eyed to what the elements are. So a lot of people are now starting to see drops of water getting into that oil, and it's popping everywhere. They're like, oh my God, fascism is here. When Black and indigenous people have been saying for 400 years, duh, we've been saying it. But the thing is that people haven't been caught to it. They haven't been woken up to it. And then you get the people who are the parasites at the top. They're going, oh, this person of that marginalized identity that has no power, they're the reason why your life is so horrible. The people who are on welfare is the reason why your life is so horrible. The immigrants who are coming across this border are the reason why your life is so horrible. The person who's in drag that's reading books to kids is the reason why your life is so horrible. The person who is trans is the reason why your life's so horrible. When in reality, the people who are making your life so horrible wear $5,000 Italian suits and have homes in Calabasas. They're the reason why. But they don't want you to know that. And those are the fascists. Fascists wear expensive suits and sit in boardrooms. That's who it is. And a lot of people aren't just waking up to it. Fortunately, the younger generation is. But some people are still being fooled. That's why we talk about being post-duopoly. You got to sift through the BS. Let me see here. Closing H-Town said, thank you very much for the super sticker. Appreciate it very much. All right. So we got to move on to the next part, the next segment, I said. Okay, so before we do that, just want to give a shout out to the patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, we would not be able to do the work that we're doing here in this space. So because of what we do work on the ground whenever we possibly can. In fact, we're going to be organizing to do more work here in Orlando for the Orlando chapter. So we'll be doing that as well. But what we try to do here on the ground is, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. And that walking the walk means mutual aid, as well as helping to educate other people in class consciousness and really being awake to the propaganda that is being pushed by the system. And so we just want to give a big shout out and thank you to all the patrons on Patreon, because without you guys, we would not be able to do this work. You guys make this possible, and a huge thank you to every single one of you. So thank you very much for that. Roger says Rockfin. Okay. All right. Got you, Roger. Let's go into that before we head in. Woo. Okay. And then we'll be getting into a positive news story, which is going to be nice. I can't wait. All right. So here on Rockfin, Raj. Okay, first we're going to start with Denver. Attaway says the duopoly only cares about people insofar as how people can be used as stage props. Absolutely. Actually, you said it better than me, Denver. Thank you. Roger Meadows, thank you very much for the tip. He says a lot of us were doing better under Trump than under Joe. Black businesses actually grew, and there were a lot more Black businesses started under Trump than by Joe. Though not lack worker co-ops, but they were Black owned. I have no problem with Trump wanting to come to visit and say what he's going to do for our community. They're politicians, so they lie all anyway. If that same hand isn't extended to Jill RFK, Cornel West, and Joe Biden, then I will have an issue with it. Math Hoffa from Barbershop in Harlem, who does all the interviews of all the rappers, past and present, did the same thing with Kennedy. Someone should ask outraged Georgians about those $2,000 checks that was promised by Joe instead of being mad at this brother. I mean, that's a fair point. I think that, I still put Donald Trump and Joe Biden in the same thing, in the same lane. And of course, the Black businesses that were growing, would it have still grown under Joe Biden as well? If before pre-pandemic? I mean, that remains to be seen. Hindsight's always 2020, and Joe Biden wasn't president then. So, I don't know. I just see them both as one and the same. Denver says Trump facilitated the largest upward transfer of wealth in human history by signing the CARES Act. See, Roger Meadows says, remember, these people are not post-duopoly. Me personally, I'm post-political party, period. Not just post-duopoly, but these people are not where we are yet. People like the barber only know the system set before them, and they are operating and trying to figure out how to navigate within it. They know no better. Yeah, I do have to give people more grace in that area. You're right, Roger. So it is up to us to introduce them to a new way of doing things. We must have patience with them. I understand. But Roger, let me say this as well. He should have read the damn contract. He should have read the contract. If he says he's not political, then read the contract, bro. And then if you're going to have Trump, then you might as well invite all the presidential candidates, because then it'll make you look neutral instead. If you just had Trump, then guess what? Now you're going to look like you're just one-sided duopoly. But I do get what you're saying too. And you do have a logical point there too. All right, so let me see. Did I miss any super chats? I don't think so. All right, so let's get to the next story. This is going to be a good one. We're going to talk about how Black farmers have won. If you want anyone to win, you would want the people who help make our food to win. I mean, that's my opinion. And I would want them to win, especially because of a history of discrimination. We're talking about Black farmers. A lot of times people will talk about farmers in general, how farmers are very important, which I do agree. But a lot of times people don't talk about the issues surrounding Black farmers and how they have been discriminated against since the beginning of this country's inception. So there was a win that happened, but we got to know where we were at first before we find out what this win is. So one of the things I want to do is I want to share this article. I wanted to share the actual video news report, but unfortunately, because the local news, they don't like us really sharing, even though it is fair use. they're not too keen on that. So I'm just going to read the article here, and then we'll get into a video real quick. But it says organization working to get financial backing for discriminated farmers. So here it is. I mean, is this big enough? No. All right. So this is out of Dothan, Alabama. Says the Department of Agriculture has $2.2 billion set aside for financial compensation for farmers that have been discriminated against when trying to obtain farming loans. The Black Farmers and Agriculturalists Association is trying to make sure families of all Black farmers who are discriminated against get compensated. The organization held an open forum at Dothan Civic Center informing folks on how they can get involved. The BFAA feels the application process makes things difficult and could lead to an easy denial for those trying to get backing. Quote, we are arguing that the 40-page application they are using in the application process, first of all, is complicated and will succeed in denying tens of thousands of African Americans who are otherwise eligible for relief under this program. That was from Thomas Burrell. According to the USDA, the only people eligible for the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program are those who were discriminated against or debtors that have taken over debt following a family's member's passing. Burrell says families of farmers should be able to receive compensation even if a farmer paid off their debts prior to their death due to the discrimination regardless. Quote, you admit that you discriminated against grandma. You admit that you discriminated against granddaddy. Now the children of grandma and the heirs of granddaddy are here. And now you're saying you're not going to compensate them? This is just as egregious as ungodly as the acts of discrimination you committed against these people in the first place. End quote. After the forum, BFAA handed out questionnaires to gather information on those attending, hoping to present these papers to a judge to show how many people this issue affects. We are hoping that these questionnaires will help a federal judge establish the fact and declare the lawsuit that we filed and other similarly situated African-American farmers, landowners, and their children around the country, and declare that they be considered a class action. Any person who qualifies could receive compensation up to $500,000. So the applications were due January 13th of this year. That was a few months ago. That was 6 months ago. So that is the class action lawsuit that they are trying to put against the USDA. And so let's go to this particular news story. This was shared by Ben Crump, and I want to share this argument that was being used as well in court against them in order to prevent from paying them essentially reparations. So this is from Ben Crump. He says, Black farmers and their descendants got a major win after the Supreme Court ruled that farmers who were discriminated against could get their share of the $2.2 billion set aside by the federal government. Discrimination has no place in government. This is a big win. So let's go here and let's get into it.
Is being touted as a major win for Black farmers and their descendants. The Black Farmers and Agriculturists Association, which is based here in Memphis, filed a discrimination lawsuit against the USDA. Farmers who were discriminated against, they say, in receiving farm loans could get their share of $2.2 billion set aside by the federal government in the Inflation Reduction Act, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2021. The BFAA claimed the USDA was denying descendants of those Black farmers from also applying for funds through something called the Chevron deference doctrine. Last week, the Supreme Court ruled that doctrine was unconstitutional.
Okay, so he mentions the Chevron deference doctrine. Now, the Chevron deference doctrine is actually explained here. I'm going to share this video really quick to explain the Chevron deference doctrine, and we can get to the rest of this video as well, because this is what they used in order to argue basically against giving these farmers any type of compensation for what happened. So I'm going to share this really quick just to explain what the Chevron deference doctrine is and how and why they ruled it unconstitutional. So let's go.
Topic at hand. What is the simplest way for our listeners to understand what Chevron deference is?
So the big picture definition of Chevron deference is that it's an administrative law principle that requires federal courts to defer to a federal agency's reasonable interpretation of an ambiguous or an unclear statute that Congress delegated to the agency to administer. Now, that's a bit of a mouthful. What exactly does that mean? So let's go ahead and break that down into some more bite-sized chunks. So Chevron deference, it's an administrative law principle. So it's not a law in and of itself. What that means is that it's an accepted practice in the federal courts that stems from a legal precedent. And in this case, it comes from that 1984 Chevron case that we're going to be looking at a little closer during our time together here. And with that in mind, what does it then mean for a court to defer to an agency? Well, Chevron is a type of judicial deference. And in federal administrative law, deference, or the act of deferring, it means that a court accepts an agency's interpretation of a law or statute, and it doesn't replace its own judgment with the agency's view. So the U.S. Supreme Court has developed several forms of deference over time to review agency actions. Chevron deference is probably the biggest, most well-known of these, but there's also Skidmore deference and Auer deference and several others. So what then do we mean by an ambiguous or an unclear statute? Well, Congress passes many, many laws, and a lot of these laws have kind of vague goals in mind, like, for example, achieving clean air or clean water. But putting these broader goals into practice requires some sort of agency action. So Congress isn't going to go in there and nitpick every tiny little action that needs to be taken in order to achieve clean air. They're going to tell the agency to kind of fill in the details by issuing some regulations to carry out those broader mandates. So that's kind of how the relationship between the law and the agency works.
Okay, so one of the things I want to point out is that this is also some ways in which systemic racism can still continue. It's like, well, the deference, we're not going to go according to the law. We're going to defer to the expertise of, this agency, right? It could be the EPA. It could be the National Institute of Health. It could be the DOJ. It could be many different agencies within the purview of the government, right? It could be Department of Commerce or whatever, the Department of Agriculture or whatever. And so if it also has if it has a policy that really is more geared towards discriminating against people that look like me, but it's not necessarily, it's kind of like under the radar. If the court's deferring to them and is saying, okay, well, we'll follow that, then that's how it is allowed, right? It's just like, for instance, you could argue really that the whole FICO score credit system has a lot of racism involved in it, right? But a lot of people don't think about that because they think it's applied to everybody. Well, yeah, but at the same time, when you go into issue for issue as far as the wealth disparities within this country, well, who's always on the lower part of the ladder? Who always has issues involving credit because we're, financially and economically at the lowest part of the ladder? Well, of course, it's going to disproportionately affect us, right? It's just like the whole thing about the powder cocaine versus crack cocaine disparity, right? That's part of, like, for instance, you could, the DEA says, well, this is our expertise, and we want to, charge more for this than for that. Guess what? Even though it's racist, it doesn't particularly insert race into it. So now you have, the court deferring to this. I'm not saying this is particularly, for that. But the problem is that they're deferring to the agency in that regard. And if the agency has systemic racist policies within it, then of course the courts to defer to those policies, even if they're systemically racist. So this is one of the biggest issues involving the Chevron doctrine. And so ultimately, I think one of the best ways in order to combat this is to get rid of the systemic racism that is inherent within not just the government agencies, but also the criminal justice system. But the thing is, that's only possible if you change the system from the ground up. The problem is you cannot do it through the duopoly. You cannot do it through either party. You cannot really do it through a capitalist system. That's just how it is. But that's some of the explanation. And let's continue just a little bit further before she finishes.
Then if there's any sort of statutory ambiguity or a lack of clarity in the law for how exactly the agency should proceed, that's what gives rise to Chevron deference. So when a group or an individual challenges the lawfulness of an agency regulation in court, the judges often use the Chevron framework to determine whether or not to uphold that regulation. And that framework itself kind of proceeds according to a two-step process. So in step one, the court is going to look at the statute in question, the law that the agency is tasked with administering, and it's going to determine whether or not Congress put forth a clear intent. And if it did, then the agency absolutely must carry out the express intent of Congress. There's no question about that. But if the court finds that the law is a little bit ambiguous, it's a little bit unclear, then they're going to look at whether or not the agency interpreted that law in a reasonable fashion. And if it is reasonable, if it's not arbitrary or capricious in some way, then the agency's regulations are then binding, and the court cannot substitute its own judgment for that of the agency under the Chevron framework. So hopefully that made sense, Victoria. If you need a little more information about that.
Okay. So that gives you a bit of the explanation towards the Chevron doctrine that the USDA was using. So let's go back to this and let's continue to hear about this win. Hang on.
The black farmers and ag named, the USDA was denying descendants of those black farmers from also applying for funds through something called the Chevron deference doctrine. Last week, the Supreme Court ruled that doctrine was unconstitutional, paving the way for thousands of heirs of black farmers.
If they can show that their parents were or grandparents were the victims of racial discrimination during the time period that Congress allowed, then yes, they should have a right to file.
The gentleman here says the organization has a pending lawsuit in the U.S. Court of Appeals at the U.S. Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati.
So essentially, the heirs should also be able to collect based on discrimination against the people who were originally discriminated against. Reparations. Am I right? So that being the case, because, well, if you're inheriting the generational debt of somebody, you should also be able to inherit the generational wealth of somebody who has incurred that wealth, or if someone was wrong but then they died, the family should be able to collect on what that wronged family member has not received while they were alive. I say yes. Well, therefore, that means that not only Black farmers, the descendants of the Black farmers that were discriminated against should receive these payments, and from what the article says, is up to $500,000. But this also goes into the larger conversation about reparations and how those of us who are American descendants of slavery, that we should also receive reparations due to us because it is a debt owed, and that debt does not get cleared out because that person died. That means that their descendants, i.e. us, should receive what the government failed to pay the debt on, because the debt doesn't clear once you're dead. The debt continues on, especially if it was promised to us. I see this as a win. It is a win, and we should continue further. And the thing is that, Black farmers are, taken advantage of in this country, or not we, but they are exploited or, discriminated against more because they're Black, and their populations are smaller than that of white farmers. And I think that, a win like this is actually a very positive story for us to look into. That, we should be able to see this as a win for people who are not just farmers, but this is a win for their families. Because who's looking out for them? So if the Chevron doctrine is now unconstitutional, how many more cases that use the Chevron doctrine can be retried now, especially in cases of racial discrimination? How many of these can we overturn now? Because the Chevron doctrine is now considered unconstitutional. Now, another question is, what if the Chevron doctrine was used for something that is important in regards to, let's say, the climate, right? Let's say the court said we defer to the Environmental Protection Agency in regards to clean air and water. Well, the court is not a science. They're not a scientific entity or institution. So therefore, they would need to defer to them on that. That's why I'm still a little bit hesitant to say the Chevron doctrine being counted as unconstitutional as a victory as well. Because let's say a Freedmen's Bureau is reactivated, right? And then we have certain stipulations because the research was done and all the data is being compiled by the Freedmen's Bureau for, let's say, reparations, right? But then that Chevron doctrine cannot be applied to the Freedmen's Bureau and says, well, we would defer. otherwise they would say we defer to the Freedmen's Bureau on what they stipulate. Now they can say, well, no, we the court are actually going to determine what it is, not the Freedmen's Bureau. That's the one thing I'm kind of, I pause at, you know, because it depends on the purview of that institution, of that department, if what they're doing is just when it comes to, let's say, environmental safety, or when it comes to the rights of freedmen, or if it comes under the rights of immigrants, or if it comes under the rights of criminal justice, especially for people who are disenfranchised. That's the only thing I'm kind of iffy on, you know? Because while this is a victory, I'm still kind of in the middle when it comes to taking away this doctrine. Because what if the doctrine is applying something that's actually beneficial to all of us, especially like when it comes to environment or food safety or something like that? You know what I mean? But at the same time, these departments are also, sometimes got a chokehold on them by the corporations. For instance, the whole lawsuit against the Sackler family. I mean, the Sackler family literally had somebody inside the FDA that was, pushing them to make sure that OxyContin was approved. So then the Chevron doctrine, the court would defer to them, and then, the Chevron doctrine would say, oh yeah, well, we can still do this. And then now you got OxyContin that's approved by the courts, to be distributed throughout the country, thus, pushing towards, the deaths of, hundreds of thousands through opioid addiction. So it's like a double-edged sword, I don't know. That's why I'm kind of in the middle on it. But I am happy for the Black farmers, though. And I do think that they definitely probably deserve more, because, really, we should just start making sure that, the farmers are from underneath the boot of corporations. But yeah. So congratulations to the Black farmers. I want to show this too, because I saw this as I was doing some research on this. This was actually the Florida Black Farmers Agricultural Association. And just to read, what they're about, it says BFAA Florida was founded in 2011 to help Black farmers remain financially viable in order to maintain and keep their farms and land. The Pickford and Black farmers lawsuits recognize that Black farmers have been systemically discriminated against, and that this discrimination has resulted in outright devastation and destruction to the number of Black farmers nationwide. As a forefront to our organization is the mission of rebuilding Black farmers so that they not only can survive, but thrive. Our education and outreach initiatives are centered around 1, teaching members modern farming techniques, 2, providing financial planning and awareness, 3, advocating for changes in laws that continue to discriminate against minorities, 4, educating members about regarding legal issues, 5, direct farm to customer selling techniques, and 6, advising members regarding new crops. So, they're trying to make sure that, Black farmers are, supported in this country. And I think that we should be doing our best to support Black farmers. I mean, because a lot of times people talk about Black businesses, My thing is, Black farmers should also be supported. And I mean, really, it's about our food. I thought this quote was interesting. He says, quote, "My grandfather used to say that once in your life, you need a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman." Well, that part I kind of disagree with because this system. But anyways, and a preacher. But every day, 3 times a day, you need a farmer. Why? Because you eat 3 times a day. So that's from Brenda Shope, farmer, author, mentor, international speaker. So you guys have to realize how much farmers affect your very life. If you ate today, a farmer affected your life. So solidarity with the farmers. Keep going. Keep pushing. Thank you very much to you guys for fighting on this. Yeah. So it's good news. So give the video a like. Let's go into the chat. And let's have this conversation. All right. I think there's yeah. Okay. So super chat here from Chima Madhu says, as the new Cold War ramps up and more people turn away from the U.S., there has been a growing number of fake Pan-African channels trying to turn Black votes against socialism and BRICS. Please be careful. Ooh, interesting. Thank you very much for that warning, Chima. Appreciate it. All right, so Carpe Diem says Department of Agriculture, so this wasn't judicial. Why wasn't this done in January of 2021? That's a good question. Yeah, it was handled through the judiciary, Carpe Diem. Yeah. Rondo says Chevron deference gives too much power to the administrative agencies in their interpreting of statutes. Yeah. My thing is that these agencies are really overrun by corporate stooges. If it was run by workers, like what a government should be, then I think that the Chevron deference would actually work well. It feels like it's a tool, but depending on who is wielded by, it could be used as a destructive weapon or a constructive weapon. And it feels like a destructive weapon because these institutions, these agencies are really held by people who are dominated by corporations. You know what I'm saying? It's like the USDA is being dominated by big agriculture. And so, of course, they don't want these smaller farmers, in particular Black farmers, to get ahead. And so they're going to make sure that they get held back. The small farmer, even if a white farmer who has a small farm, they're not going to want them to get ahead. For instance, people in the FDA or USDA, let's say they have people who used to be at Monsanto within their agency. Now they're going to argue in favor of Monsanto versus arguing in favor of the farmers. And then, that doctrine, the Chevron doctrine, ends up arguing in favor of Monsanto, but that person's inside the USDA. And so, they're going to say, well, we're going to defer to them. And it's like, no. They're actually arguing in favor of a corporation. So that's the only thing that, gives me pause, but at the same time, what if we were to change the system entirely to a worker-centered system where they actually argue in favor of, these small farmers, in favor of the Black farmers, then, what if, the Chevron doctrine said, well, we defer to the expertise of the USDA, but the USDA was headed by, actual farmers and small farmers. You know what I'm saying? And then we could say, well, no, that's not constitutional. Then we're not going to defer to them. See what I mean? That's the thing about it, man. And you know what? All I'm saying, this is a point. Congress should write clear legislation. Sometimes they don't write clear legislation and they leave it convoluted and vague on purpose so that the corporations can take hold of it and maneuver things the way they want. And that's the part that really grinds my gears. Let me see here. Yeah. Lou says, I found it. It looks like Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and Ketanji Brown Jackson all voted against the ruling. Yeah. That's the thing, man. It's like they are all owned by corporations, right? Everybody in the court is owned by corporations. So it's like, I don't know, man. I'm kind of in the middle, and because I want something like that to be used for the workers and the small like farmers. I don't want it to be used for, big agriculture and big pharma and things like that. But do you see the dilemma in my brain? You see the hamster running on the wheel? That's the only thing. Let me see here. We just got to get rid of this corruption, honestly. But yeah, let's go into, let me check the Rockfin. Okay. Yeah, we got a Rockfin tip. Let's go there. Am I going to finish on time? I think so. Let me see. Okay. Roger Meadows, thank you so very much for the tip. He said, reason why these regulatory bodies and courts would do the job of Congress. Because Congress refuses to do its job because Congress can be held accountable through elections. Great point, Roger. He says regulatory bodies and federal judges can't. So they push everything to the courts and make believe Supreme Court of the United States has the ultimate power when it does not. Congress can overturn anything ruled on by courts. Regulatory agencies look to Congress for guidance. Now, I'm going to stop there. Very good point, Roger, because here's the thing that a lot of people aren't realizing. Legislation is the making of laws. Courts have to interpret those laws that are made by the legislator. So in reality, the people who legislate and create the laws, that's why they're called lawmakers, really it should fall upon them to create the laws, make them more precise and clarify, but they don't want to. And this is also goes into the politics of it. This goes into the politics of where they don't want to be held accountable for the decisions that they make regarding this. And I thank you so much for pointing this out, Roger, because ultimately, this is why this system needs to be changed fundamentally. And this is why these parties are trash, because they want to. It is more beneficial for me to hand you a blank check and then you fill in what you want than to write exactly the amount on the check and then hand it to you. It's the same way for these regulatory agencies. You're basically handing them a blank check or blank contract with their signature already on it, and you just fill in the rest, right? That's basically what Congress does, is that they have a contract, but it's blank, and you fill in whatever you want, and their signature's at the bottom. When in reality, they need to stipulate the terms that benefits the worker, that benefits the small business person, that benefits the small farmer, but they don't want to do that because they want the corporations, the parasite class, to fill in everything else. And I'm not for that. This is why we need to change the system overall. And so, yeah. You're right, Roger. You're right. Okay. This is why I need smart people around me. All right. So it says, but when Congress refuses to pass laws for the regulatory body to operate, and then they are forced, just like the president is forced to do executive orders when Congress don't want to pass laws, regulatory bodies are forced to make shit up. Chevron was overturned because the EPA told fishermen they have to put an inspector on their boat and must pay them $700 per day. No law mandates that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Roger. So yeah, ultimately, that's the whole kit and caboodle. Let's go to the rest of the chat. Hopefully I can get out of here on time. Owen Same says the small farmer should not be a smaller version of the industrial farmer. That's a recipe for failure. And I agree. Like, I think it should be more independent, right? Independent farms, not linked to some big corporation. I personally would love to see independent farms everywhere so that you can just go to the farmer's market, your local farmer's market, and shop and buy straight from them. Like, to me, don't come for me in the comments, y'all, but I feel like grocery stores, for the most part, especially the supermarkets, like the big ones, the chains at least, they are the middleman. Why do we have them? I honestly think that a lot of our products that we get should be from farm to table. So that means your veggies, your fruits, your nuts, your seeds, things like butter, things like milk, your meat from your livestock and all that. I honestly do think that we should get straight from the farmers. And I think you should be able to go straight to them and get it. Now, do I believe that regulatory agencies should exist to make sure that they are doing things in a safe way above board? Yes. Because, like, for instance, I hate to put it this way to y'all, but there are sometimes trace amounts of blood in milk. Go ahead, look it up. And there are more trace amounts of blood that is actually in chocolate milk. They just add the chocolate so it's not as pink. So yes, I do think that regulatory agencies should be able to look and go, hey, you guys need to start doing things above board because I don't want fecal matter in my meat. But at the same time, I think that there should be, a referee to make sure that everything is above board. But I think that power should still be within the hands of the small farmer. And I do believe that there should be preference given to co-op farms, cooperative farms, so that it's the workers that actually own them. So when it comes to, and this also goes for fisheries too, fishermen or fishers. I don't want to make it into a gender thing, but I definitely do think that it should be that way so that we're not being pushed to have more salt, fat, sugar, and stuff like that in our diet. And would this diminish the amount of supermarkets that we have? Yeah. But do I think that we should still have markets like that? Yeah. But make them, small and make them, more worker-owning cooperatives. Yeah, of course. Fine. I'm fine with that. But when it comes to all these corporate entities and this consolidation and monopolization that we have, this is really just tearing us apart. Look at our food, man. Look, I've been fat my entire life, and I lost like 80 pounds over the last year, right? But that's because I've been going to more whole foods and staying away from this crap that these corporations push onto us. But would I be this way if we didn't have these corporations pushing these types of food towards us, especially making them cheap and easier for us to access than for more fresh fruits and veggies and more whole foods? A lot of us would be a lot more healthier. And this is a good point. Sophia says, what if those regulatory agencies are incentivized by the capitalist system? These regulatory agencies are incentivized by the capitalist system. This is why the capitalist system needs to be burn it with fire. Let's have a whole new system that does not thrive on exploitation of people. And yes, that's why I think the whole entire system needs to be rebuilt from anew. So yes, I agree, Sophia. So ultimately, yeah, this is part of changing the system from the ground up. This is why I said the third option also will lead into changing our regulatory agencies, as well as lead into changing the way we process our food and going back. Call me old-fashioned, but I want to go back to the way we used to do it when our indigenous ancestors did it, right? That's the type of old-fashioned that I am, and so I want to do it before colonialism took place. I want to do it before imperialism took place. And I think that's the best way to go about it, And so, yeah. And all I'm saying is just cheap, polluted food. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sick and tired of, us constantly, having our bodies polluted. And then the food is considered cheaper because we have to, that's all we can afford. That's what happens when you live in places like food desert, right? They tore down, well, not tore down, but they closed the Save-A-Lot not too far from me. And then for a while, it was, people who used that Save-A-Lot because it was the cheapest option. They had to go either to the Dollar Tree, which doesn't really have a lot of fruit and vegetable options, and regular just like meat options. Everything is pretty much processed. Or if you did want to, you had to go to the Aldi, which the Aldi is okay, but in some ways it may not be as cheap as Save-A-Lot. So, you know, you have poor people, working poor people in the area that are basically having to spend more money just so that they can survive if they want healthier food. But if they're just trying to eat for the day, I mean, there goes the Dollar Tree, but they're getting food that's full of salt, fat, and sugar. You know, well, what if we had a farmer's market that was within that vicinity? What if we had more farm to table that would be serving the community? And then on top of that, the community, therefore, would be putting the money straight into the farmers' pockets instead of it going through a middleman like a supermarket, especially a corporate supermarket. Yeah. Yeah, Carpe Diem. We need a whole new court system. Like everybody's talking about, oh, we should expand the court. We need to pack the court. Now we need to just flip the table over, create a whole brand new game. You know, I'm tired. I'm tired. But yeah. But that's a good news story. So, guys, I'm going to head out because I got to start on dinner. Oh, man, I am so excited. Do you guys think I should do quinoa? Quinoa is better because it has more protein. But I don't know if she probably left church already. Probably just gonna have to do brown rice. I want to do quinoa though. You know, I save money on my electric bill, so I'm gonna use some of that towards some quinoa. But anyways, it is what it is. But I want to say thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. You guys have been great. You guys elevate the conversation, and I just appreciate all of you from the top and bottom of my heart. You guys are wonderful people. And I wanted to share this closing video with you guys because, you know, we're all workers here. And one of the things I want to share with you guys as workers is how to combat when your employer is trying to go against you when you're trying, you know, when they try to manipulate you via, you know, what you say on social media. And a lot of us here, we do not like being manipulated by what we say online. As long as you're not saying something against a marginalized group, as long as you're not saying something that's threatening or harmful to different people who, you know, are marginalized, you know, or people who are, you know, who aren't doing any harm. You know what I'm saying? As long as you're just, you know, expressing your opinion on something, I do not think that you should necessarily be canceled, you know, I mean, by your employer. Now, if you say some BS regarding marginalized people, well, then that's on you. But I think that a lot of times people will try to use it to kind of keep you silent. So I think it's important to try to stay within the law, I'll put it that way. But at the same time, you know, I think it's just a good tip for people. Let me share this really quick. So let's go.
Good to you. You might be hearing from HR. They mentioned your social media presence, and they're going to want to have a conversation with you.
Well, what is it that they need to talk to me about?
Well, they just want to make sure that you're not hurting the company by making these videos.
You mean the videos where I'm showing people how to defend themselves and know their rights at work?
Well, so yes and no. They'll get more into detail. You have a very large social media presence, and I just don't want it to sort of backfire. I don't want people to take your videos as word.
Mm-hmm. So quick question. When my lawyer calls to see why you guys are trying to infringe on my right to free speech, should they call you or should they call HR?
No. I don't want it to sound like we're questioning your TikTok. I don't want it to sound, that's not what I'm trying to say. That's not at all what I'm trying to say.
No, that's actually exactly what it sounds like. So, I mean, the lawyer will get to the bottom of what the intent was of what this conversation was supposed to be. So I guess I'll just give them your desk number if that's okay.
Anything regarding this matter should really just go straight to HR, okay?
Well, the thing is that I haven't spoken to HR. HR hasn't emailed me or mentioned this to me at all. So I would feel more comfortable giving my attorney your number. And then if you want to throw HR under the bus, then you can do that. But you'll be hearing from my attorney personally.
The intent wasn't to, make a huge deal out of this. They just wanted to talk to you. So I don't want you to, this isn't an attack on you. And they just asked me to let you know that they would be communicating with you.
No, and I get that. But as a manager, you should be well aware of, number one, what the right to free speech is. Number two, I'm not breaking any social media policy. And number three, I'm not using any type of work product. So you cannot tell me what I can and can't do on social media. So,
hey, Veronica, do you?
There you go. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. So, yes, just make sure to be careful on social media and just, make sure to be as above board, but at the same time, when it comes to speaking up against injustice, keep speaking out against injustice, man, wherever you see it. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Look, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Yep, leave the world better than you found it, baby. Smoke him if you got him, drink him if you got him. If you ain't got him, then watch something funny, because joy is revolutionary. I will see you guys in the next one. And forehead kisses to every single one of you. And always remember to read your contracts. Oh boy, geez.